And one. Okay, it should be good now. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Wolf. Excited to chat with you guys again. I have Mr. Thomas with me, talking about all things going on in the macro landscape. There's been a ton of different stories, a bunch of different announcements, just things all over the place, dude. We have Kraken getting first, top of the line access into a lot of information that people were not expecting. So I'm gonna keep it a little bit mysterious for you guys who are tuning into the stream. We have the defense stocks, that whole conversation kind of taking off there. We've got the Tron founder, Justin Sun, who's been let off the charges from the SEC. They've totally dropped the entire case around him. So a couple interesting stories on that front. There was also Anthropic being called out by the Pentagon, because the Pentagon says you are now a supply chain risk because you're an ex-girlfriend now and we don't like you. And so a bunch of wild stuff. I don't know what's real and what's not. With the White House tweeting as if it's some 20-year-old with a college degree and they're in the at the back of their math class and they're thinking, how can I rage bait the entire country? And then we have the Israeli defenses tweet. It's honestly a wild time to be alive. It's about I guess what I would have expected. We have a generation growing up on Snapchat and Instagram memes, and then we have a war breakout and everyone's just making fun of old people because they're falling for these AI videos. So I don't know. I don't even know what to expect anymore. I don't know what's going on. Thomas, dude, it's great to have you. How are you?
Yeah, man, I'm doing good. It's a lot of interesting stuff going on at the moment. I liked your little your summary there. It's right. We definitely are in. I mean, we got kinetic warfare for sure, but we've also got mimetic warfare, and I think that's what you're alluding to there, which I think is right on schedule, right? We're at this kind of very interesting point in time where it is a battle for mind share, and it is a battle of ideas, and you don't even really know what to believe, right? You read some news story, and first of all, if there's layers of fakeness, right? It's
yeah.
Is that first of all, did a person make that up? Or is it a bot? Or did a bot make that up? Or is it real, but it's also kind of fake? And it's, and you do have to feel for the people that aren't, I feel like there's a certain level of, I grew up with the internet. I was born in the darkness, so to speak. Yeah. The Batman Bane thing. I'm so deep in this. I get it. I know I'm trying to suss out what's fake, what's real. But then you feel for the older generations, and they're on Facebook, and they're, oh my God, they read this article, and did you see this thing here? This, and it's oh gosh, now you got AI videos coming, which just make it.
They're hard to discern. They're actually hard to discern now.
I would go a step further, and I would say it's probably impossible in the sense of you can watch a video and be totally looks real, but I'm still not going to completely accept that this. I'm just going to give it a little probability weight here. I'm
trying not to tweet anything because I don't want to get roasted by someone and be you're an idiot for thinking this is AI. Dude, our brothers in Christ, Cardones, these Cardone brothers are just getting cooked alive on the timeline. They're so smart, they're so rich, they're so successful, and they keep getting baited on these AI videos. They keep going for it. It's interesting. I spoke to someone who, very wise guy, and I'm going to butcher the statement because I can't remember exactly. I just remember what we were talking about, and we were talking about this, and he was we're in a world now where there's so much truth and so much lies mixed together now that because it's all becoming very, very hard to discern. He goes, now you just need to find God, I knew I was gonna miss it. It was so smart what he said. It was something along the lines of you want to get as much of the right as possible. There's going to be so much of the gunk in there. You got to discern who's pretty much right and who's actually got correct information. You're basically going to get lies mixed in with truth and bias mixed in with objective truth. And it's going to be so close to objectively true, but with a full spin that completely turns the story on its head, so-and-so bombs this person, which is okay, that's an objective thing that happened. Did it happen? Yes. Okay. You're but the way it was worded, it makes it really seem like it was this type of, And so we're getting to a point where like everything's starting to be propaganda. I don't know if you've noticed on Twitter, like it's literally propaganda 24/7. And I'm seeing Twitter locked down. They're like locking down on everything. Like it went from this, hey, you post whatever you want. We're X, we do whatever. And now Nikita Barr, this dude on Twitter, the guy who's like in charge of product X, new rule like every 24 hours. He's like, okay, no more of this. Okay, no more of that. Okay, creators are gonna do this. So we're happy it's happening right in front of our eyes.
Yeah. Look, and also, it's. I mean, the thing is as well that to be fair, what happens is that most of what's going on Twitter is a joke. Like it's a joke for the person posting it. I had someone kind of like rage commenting on my, like they found a tweet I made, like I think this was like a year ago, maybe it was 18 months ago or something. But like that, I was like, look at my notifications, like what is going on? They're like blowing up on my timeline, on my notifications. And I put out a tweet that was like, oh, now that Bitcoin has passed the 80K level, the next resistance level is 1 million. It's a joke. It's just you know, anyone that's not like, you know, autistic is probably going to figure out like that's a joke,
right?
That's a joke. But you know, there's someone. But if you know, like this is the internet. This is the whole world, right? So you get 100,000 people that are like looking at a tweet.
Oh yeah.
And it's like there's going to be a handful of people like, I'm going to write this one down because you're going to be wrong. You're going to be wrong, and I'm going to tell you about this in 12 months' time. And it's like, okay, bro.
It's so painful. And it's probably because their bags are down, if we're honest. Like Bitcoin, I guess, okay, now we're back into 70K range. Ethereum's still holding over $2,000. I thought you could see this. Never mind. I'm just going to roll through some of the prices here just for people to get some updates. Bitcoin's back around 70, Ethereum around $2,000 again, XRP at $1.40. Tron, I thought maybe there'd be some kind of pump for Tron after hearing that their case was closed, but I guess nobody cares. Solana under $90 again. We'll see, man. The crypto side is rough.
Tron, I had just it's interesting. To be fair, hadn't really covered the story, hadn't really watched it, but my understanding was that Justin Sun was a heavy contributor to Trump's
a millionaire. I'm going all over Hong Kong.
Basically, heavy
people. No. Hey,
no, I wasn't playing the audio. I was just playing in the background. This is what he looks like, though.
Yeah. My understanding, he was like heavy contributor to Trump. I
think so. It might have been all of these guys actually. Like a lot of the crypto guys, like just trying to do a little bit of lobbying, you know, like SBX too.
Well, yeah, I feel like SBF was a little bit late to it because he's been in prison for a few, I think
Good point.
Justin Sun was, do you know, they got that Trump Foundation or that Trump coin, and I'm not talking about the meme Trump coin, but I guess they're all meme coins in a way. But there was some other like Eric Trump is running some crypto coin thing or something in 2024, and Justin Sun was a big contributor, and I was like, yeah, he's like he's buying his freedom there. I mean, this is just total speculation from my end, but that's what kind of what it looked like. So I'm not all that surprised to see, you know, the regulatory body be like, yeah, you're good to go, Justin. You're good to go. Like, okay.
That's funny. I mean, CZ Binance getting out of prison. They're like, all good, brother. No, you're good. Just get out of there.
Yeah.
Bro, this guy's got it on easy mode, man. But crypto's like, it's kind of across the board. They definitely had some relief the last few days, but now it looks like we're maybe hitting some pockets of resistance with the Qs kind of flat. I'm not sure what people were expecting this week. I think there's a lot of question marks going into the beginning of the week, like Monday, Tuesday, just because all these big announcements came over the weekend. And honestly, a lot of the big charts didn't do too much. The VIX is up, and continues to be. It's just gone against everything else. And so that's like the main things I've seen, like on the macro front. The commodities are relatively still just vibing. I think gold's still around the 5K mark. So like not a ton of price updates, honestly, just a lot. I think it's just people sort of frozen in like this I don't know what to do with money type of situation because of the.
So I got a little bit of a thesis on this gold front.
Yeah,
and I think there is a little bit of an opportunity here. Not like when you look at what happened with gold price is up so much over the last few months, and the last couple of years really, but over the last few months as well. And I do think that, one of the things that like Bitcoiners will always talk about is this concept that once the price goes up, the mining starts to increase as well. It basically unlocks new supply of gold because all this previously unprofitable gold to mine suddenly becomes extremely profitable. Just because hey, it's if I want to open up a new mine or do some more exploration, hey, when the gold price is sitting at 2,500, it's like, yeah, it's a marginal economic activity, but at 5K gold, it's like extremely profitable activity. So you would expect to see a lot more gold mining happening and sort of a supply get unlocked over time. But I think the thing that's interesting is that there's a huge lag for that effect to happen, and I do think because this is like economic activity. It's not magic, right? It's not like boom, prices up, we're going to just start mining. There's actually like a lot of economic coordination that needs to happen in order to start exploring and start opening new mines and do all, like, it doesn't just happen the moment the price rises. There actually is a significant lag. And so I do think that there is, so if you think about the kind of, okay, if you go, okay, price is up, mining is going to increase. And you might go, okay, is that bullish for the miners or is it not bullish for miners? I mean, potentially if they can find some really economic mines. But there's also sub industries within mining, which may end up being massively beneficial. These are like micro industries, but there are companies out there that provide the trucks to these miners. There are companies out there that provide the drills to these miners. There are the companies out there that provide, like, supply the labor force to these miners. There's all these kind of like micro industries within this broader economic trend. And I think if you can go, well, price is up, mining and exploration is going to increase just because it's so profitable to mine gold in a world, I mean, at least on a relative perspective, and certainly profitable to mine silver. And a lot of these commodities have ripped, right? But you go, there's going to be a lagged effect here, and I just put it to people that are wanting to think about these kind of investment theses. It's quite interesting. You go, what are the industries that could, like, will benefit from this higher price, but you're not necessarily betting, oh, the price is going to keep running from here. But what you are doing is you're betting, hey, now that the price is here, who's going to benefit? And I think that's quite interesting. And I like the idea of looking at these industries from two perspectives. One is that there should be a massive tailwind, as I just discussed. The other factor to consider is finding a section of your portfolio that's somewhat shielded by all of this AI business. Because, yes, you want to find a piece of, like, try and chase the AI tailwind if you can, but equally don't get wrecked by AI. Like, I think there's a.
Well, what are you talking about? What should we be looking at? What are some examples that you're thinking of? Like fully opposite, like you're thinking like, dude, I saw, what's it called? I saw Waste Management hit all-time highs today. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, that's
like so many plays that are so opposite of cool, like beyond opposite of cool, that are crushing.
Yeah,
doing really well.
Yeah, look, I won't mention tickers, but I'll say that there are certain ones that I'm looking at that are like trucking companies, drillers, this sort of thing. you know, these are companies that are sort of so insulated from it. Like, it's just the AI story is not going to be part of this. The AI story is not going to be part of this thesis. And so, at least from a diversification perspective, if you have something in this sort of region, you have a section of your portfolio that is, guarded, so to speak, from, you just don't know where, because the AI stuff is just going so quickly. You don't know, like, there are so many industries right now that are going from being, this is extremely bullish for, the AI is extremely bullish for this company, to it's really bearish really quickly. I mean, even Microsoft, of all things, has gone from, the big winner of AI, to actually, wait, is this not so good for, so it's really hard to predict where this is going next over the next 6 months, in terms of, like, you would think software is going to attack it, but as other articles have laid out, it could end up being, there are so many other pieces of our economy that could end up being a lot more fragile than we realize, just because of downstream knock-on effects here that we're not thinking about, right? Like, it wipes out software engineers, and then it wipes out this, and then, consumption falls here, and then this has all these trickling of things. It's really hard to predict. But if you can establish a few subsectors of if you've got a diverse portfolio, if you can find a few pieces of the portfolio that are going to be at least insulated, I think that's quite valuable, especially if you've got a bullish thesis behind it as well. So I quite like that. And yeah, I mean, I do think I was reading a piece, and it reminded me, we're gonna, like, with the AI story coming in, like, this is going to be such a disrupting story. 100+ years ago, like, well, let's go back to the sort of the end of the 19th century. You had something like 35% of labor. Like, this is a US stat, but it probably broadly true across the world, maybe even higher, was in agriculture. Like, basically, if you talk to anybody, you're like, something like a third of your great grandparents were farmers. Like, that was just anybody that's going to be the case. And so, obviously, today we live in a world where it's like maybe 1%, 2% are actually involved. Like, it's the amount of people involved in that industry is just, just through efficiencies and technology, we don't need the labor to do that. And so what we might be seeing is a disruptive force like that coming for our economy in a different way. And so I think that it's trying to, like, as an investor, you're trying to, like, on the one hand, how can I benefit from this disruption? And on the other hand, how do I not just get savagely destroyed by this disruption? And it's having this kind of both, playing at both sides, I guess.
Yeah, 100%, dude. A couple things there. One of the things I was thinking about was a few minutes ago when you were talking about, comb through these tabs here, you're talking about like moving into other, if you're talking about investing, at least it depends if you're talking to investors or people who are just kind of trying to make sure they have a job and stuff, but diversifying out of the tech world, out of the stuff that's in the news, just because, things like Walmart or waste management, like I brought up, it's just things that are way, like, more boring. You brought up, like, agriculture and farming, like, it doesn't get as opposite of cool in the 21st century than, like, farming. But we have seen like recent, this is probably due to Bitcoin, but we've seen okay, so I don't know if you saw this, but Robinhood came out with a platinum card yesterday. There's like this whole big, like, announcement thing. One of the guys on our team was there, so he got to see, like, firsthand what was going on there. It ended up, like, not doing a ton for the price action, like, short term, and honestly, they're not doing crazy good. Like, in the last year, okay, that's wrong to say. Like, in the past 5 years, Robinhood has had a pretty good run. Last year done really well, but it's definitely keeled over here since, like, the top. I mean, this is basically in line with the crypto top, right?
I was just about to say, look at when that top is. It is
literally.
It's not just basically in line. It is
the Bitcoin chart.
It's literally bang on in line, which tells you how much. It tells you how much of the trade in these assets is risk on versus risk off. Essentially,
down. Yeah. Dang. But yeah, I was gonna say, like with Robinhood, and along with other, I mean, they have found like a let me see if I can find it. Like they have sort of found like a small bottoming potential here, and that's why I know some people are excited. They're getting back into some of these. Like there are some various Bitcoin treasury plays. I saw American Bitcoin is still in the game. They're buying more. But on the other end, we're seeing other miners and other treasuries are selling. Like I saw Mara is pivoting to AI HPC after going pure Bitcoin miner for years.
Yeah, a year too late, basically, for Mara.
Yeah, they're pivoting hard, really late. But yeah, people are getting excited. I also want to say a big shout out to the Rex Shares, by the way, for sponsoring the show today. They've got a bunch of great ETFs, and this is I guess it's like a macro show. We talk macro, we talk Bitcoin, ETFs, and stuff like that. All the things that are going on. In terms of the Bitcoin treasury world, they've got actually a pretty cool ETF called BMAX. It's Bitcoin corporate treasuries. You essentially are able to keep track of all the things going on in that world and get a little bit of exposure to the companies that are sort of participating in this side of the game, I guess you could say. And I don't know if you're tracking smart plays in the Bitcoin space, definitely one to just add to your watch list. There, it just gives you some kind of exposure to like the convertible bonds from companies that are stacking, like the MicroStrategies out there and stuff like that. And so definitely add it to your watch list. Big shout out to them. If you want to find out more information about them, this is not their only ETF, by the way. They've got tons of them out there. Definitely just check out their prospectus. That link is going to be down below this stream. If you're watching, it's going to be in the tweet below it. And if you're in the YouTube, it's going to be in the description. But just be sure to carefully read through their investment, their investment objective, risks and charges and expenses before you invest. Their prospectus and summary prospectus contains this and other information about Rex Shares. And if you want to obtain their prospectuses, visit their website at rexshares.com. Again, that link is in that tweet down below. Their prospectus should be read very carefully before investing, of course. A big shout out to Rex Shares for sponsoring the show. You guys are legends. But there might be some plays here, dude. I mean, like I said, in that chart with Robinhood, like potential bottoming structure there. We'll see what happens. I mean, it's sort of found some type of support here. A lot of people have said it's possible that Bitcoin's bottom is in. A lot of people said we might have another couple touches down. I'm not sure if you have any thoughts on like the price action side of things, but we'll see what happens, man. These should come roaring back though with Bitcoin if it ends up going up.
Yeah. Well, look, it's so. Look, I mean, I can come at it from a couple of different perspectives, which is there's like a fundamental perspective, there's a 4-year cycle perspective. You know, if you want to look at, like, first of all, I'm biased towards the fundamentals, which would tell you essentially this is a assets go risk on, risk off, and you know you're fundamentally betting on a macro economy of which you don't. It's essentially unpredictable over any short-term time period, and you know, with the general idea being that on a long-term basis it's all bullish because there's economic growth and there's money printing, money stimulus, and there's a lot of bullish factors. You know, you can form a 5-year outlook on Bitcoin, and which I bring up Bitcoin specifically because if you look at this Robinhood chart, it's identical to the Bitcoin chart. It is a risk on, risk off type asset. With that said, when you look at the formation of the chart from a 4-year cycle perspective, when you look at what has happened in prior cycles, like a 2022 or 2018, you would go, hey, this is probably to be expected. Bitcoin was, you know, its RSI was so low. Like essentially it's just been beaten down so much. You would expect little bounces and strength. You know, you would expect it's going to form support somewhere along the way. Like it doesn't just drop like, you know, like an anvil out of the sky. Like there is going to be some pockets of support along the way. And, you know, when you look at what some of these 4-year cycle traders are expecting, a lot of them would have said, yeah, March will probably be green. But that doesn't necessarily mean that this is a big sort of secular reversal in the trade. It would suggest that it's like, yeah, hey, like we might get a little bit of support and strength here. Just like if you recall in 2022, Bitcoin returned something like 40, Bitcoin in 2022 went to 35K in January and then was back at 45K by sort of March, April. And there was some pocket of strength in the, really that sort of early or late Q1, early Q2 before having another leg down. And I'm not like predicting it, but I'm not looking at Bitcoin going, the bottom is in, here we go. It's all mega bull market from here. I would need to see a lot more to kind of form that opinion, because in my head, I kind of thought, like in my head, when we sort of saw that capitulation wick down to 60K, I was like, bear market or bull market from a sort of medium-term perspective, I don't know, but I think it's going up anyway because it's just oversold. Like it just got oversold so quickly. Like whenever you see like a 40% dump in 6 weeks, it's like, okay, it's probably coming back a little bit, even if we're going to be, the lows aren't in, and by November this year, look, it's easy to imagine a world where we see 80 again and then we see 50. Like that is so easy. It's so plausible and in line with historical cycles. With that being said, I'm not like a real cycle believer. I don't really think it makes logical sense for, it is scary how well that seems to map. Like it keeps playing out this way.
It is
and
so
yet
crazy.
It's eerie, but nobody has any actual explanation about why. It's just seems to play out that way. And it presents quite an interesting like philosophical thing, right? It's like, what do you fight it? Do you just go, hey, it's just, that's just the way the world is, and you're just a dumb monkey and you don't understand? Like I'm talking to myself here.
He's like formerly from Big Wise, I think. He's now at ProCap with Anthony Pompliano. And this is when we were all sort of in the question of, hey, are we going to see a rollover here? And then 4-year cycle continuing as always. And everyone was like, no way. We're still at 100K. We're good. There's no way. And then it started to roll over, and people were like, okay, that's kind of perfectly in line with the 4-year cycle. It's a little scary. And I remember Jeff Park was talking. He was like, look, like all signs point to we had to have moved past this. Like we've got too much going for us now. But there's this 4-year cycle thing that if enough people think it's going to happen, he goes, it's probably going to happen. And he was just like, I don't have like another explanation. I was just like, dude, this is crazy. It's like we're our own worst enemy. Like I also am kind of in your boat. Like in my head, there's no way. But then you see on the chart, you're like, yeah, I mean, it's basically exactly following track.
One of the things that I think is quite interesting is that there might actually be a reason, a really good reason, but we just don't know what it is. In the sense of like
kind of thing, or what do you mean?
Well, what I mean is like when you drop, you drop an apple and it hits the ground, there's fundamental structure of gravity driving that apple to the ground. But the dog just sees it happening and goes, and doesn't understand what's. So that's an analogy to like we are witnessing these patterns. We're witnessing these patterns and we don't understand it. Like nobody has there's a clear pattern that keeps playing out. It's a fractal. It just keeps happening. But at the same time, there's no actual explanation. I've never seen anyone have a good explanation. And anything to do with trying to explain it using stock to flow models or people start to talk about the halving cycle in Bitcoin. So, that doesn't cut the mustard in terms of like an actual logical explanation. The explanation does not match the conclusion. It's just people just grasping at straws there. And yet, this kind of 4-year cycle does seem to happen in Bitcoin, clearly, repeatedly.
Yeah.
So it's quite possible that there's some fundamental structure there that we simply don't understand. And we're just the dogs witnessing the apple fall to the ground. And we don't understand gravity, and we don't understand something in the world that causes this kind of event. And we just don't have the tools to explain it. But
Possible.
I also, yeah, look, it's possible. I also think it's like, hey, every kind of theory is there. A weak theory is made to be broken, and all it would take is, hey, Bitcoin rockets up and Bitcoin hits 200K by the end of the year. That theory is done, dead. It's over, and we move on past it, and we never have to hear about this kind of cycle stuff again. And so I'm like totally open to all possibilities, essentially. And I would advise people not to trade with certainty when it comes to this kind of stuff, in the sense of you might have your opinion about the 4-year cycle or the lack of a 4-year cycle and all of that kind of stuff. But simply, I think it's important to respect, you've got an opinion, you've got a guess. Like nobody really knows. And it's a little bit, it can, I think the way, the one of the ways you can play it is if you zoom out and take a long time horizon. Because the point I would argue potentially is, if you are a strong believer in Bitcoin, which I am, but if you're a strong believer in Bitcoin, you might say, hey, Bitcoin at 70K now, maybe it's going to 50 later this year, maybe it's going to 40, but equally it might be going to 120. But if you zoom out and say, regardless, I think in 5 years' time it's going to be much, much higher, then you don't have to try and figure out the direction it's going over a short period of time. Because you can go, hey, 70, like if I think it's 70 today and I think it's going to be 300 by the end of the decade, then don't worry about whether it goes from 70 to 50. Like it's 70 is a good position. It's a good time to get to own Bitcoin. If the long-term trend is up, if you can have a higher time horizon. The tricky thing is if your time horizon is like 3 months, 6 months, it becomes very tricky, because you have to, you're guessing, you're playing a game that you probably can't win, because you can't structurally win. You might get lucky, but you just don't know what's going to happen.
Probably makes more sense to just pick your spots. Like if there's a few different levels, you're like, it'd be like, this is a objectively discounted Bitcoin price. You're like, if I think this is a possible price in 5 years, you're like, okay, then this level, this level, this level. If we see any of them, big time buy option. Like I know a lot of people have that. They've got buy limits set, and like a lot of them got triggered. I think we tapped 59K briefly. I'm sure there was a lot of fills that got right there. Like a lot of people probably had fills between 59 and 61, and they got tagged. I'm sure there's some massive buy positions, and we saw a swing right back up all the way to 70. And so people who were like, hey, I'm going to buy a bunch of 59, 60, got their wish. And I think that's a great way to DCA in. You don't have to always necessarily, buy the tops all the time, or buy the bottoms, buy the tops, just never knowing when it's going to do. Just be like, okay, here's some good levels. I'll have big buy limits set. If it hits them, great. If not, we've moved on to the next level, then like I missed that chance, I guess. But you never know with Bitcoin, dude. Like that thing can shoot up and down like no one's business sometimes. I mean, the fact that we've seen $10,000 moves in a day is insane to me. I mean, I guess that was normal, but it's at this level, it's like a $2 trillion asset. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and I think it's important and instructive to look at what happened to gold, because gold was having volatility. Gold had a 15% move in a day when it's a $20 trillion asset. So that kind of is instructive to how
Good point.
how quickly this can move. All it would take is like a change in structure amongst normalization amongst the financial institutions, that this is an asset worth like that the central banks want to accumulate this, that this is an asset for the financial institutions. And everything changes. And to your point, we were talking about this a little bit off air. Clearly, we're seeing some underlying structural changes in the industry when you have Kraken get its account with the Federal Reserve.
Oh,
like
dude,
we are,
yeah. I pulled up right here.
Yeah, we are seeing a normalization, a burrowing in of Bitcoin into the traditional financial system. It is becoming permanent. It's becoming permanent infrastructure, and that is massively bullish from its long-term perspective, because every time as it becomes normalized, it becomes that much easier for a big institution to set up positions in Bitcoin and actually feel like this is something worth holding for the long term. And we know that there is structural uncertainty or fundamental issues with the dollar. Essentially, it's going to have to there's going to be an expansion of the money supply because of this, the fact that the US debt is so untenable. The US is in a situation in which it's got $40 trillion of debt, and everything is pointing. I mean, first of all, it's already operating at 7% deficit on the government's spending as a percentage of GDP. Like they're already relative to the revenue they're taking in, and now they're going to do wars with like this, which is going to blow out the budget again. When you look at all these budget estimates, they don't factor in all these unexpected occurrences. Like nobody in the budget office is going, last year when they set the budget, oh, by the way, we're going to spend $500 billion on a war in Iran.
Right.
And maybe they won't spend $500 billion, but they might. It might even be more. I mean, if you look at what happened at the start of the century, US had basically no debt. They were running budget services and were essentially about $1 trillion in debt. And then it blew out to $10 trillion in the matter of a decade because it was about $7 trillion spent on the war in Iraq, and nobody foresaw that coming.
Yeah.
And there is so many basically it's the unknown unknowns that can drive spending, but it's so asymmetric. You don't have there's not this great unknown that's going to potentially be a huge windfall for the government that's going to massively reduce spending. It just doesn't work that way. There are only potential money spending outcomes. There's not potentially money saving outcomes for the government. And so it means there is going to be dollar debasement, and it is going to drive financial assets. And if Bitcoin is normalized, like, hey, this is one of the things that you want to own, it doesn't have to be the thing, but if it's one of the things that you want to own in the system, then you have to ask yourself, what proportion of the financial system is it going to be? Right now, it's a $2 trillion asset in a world. It is a little speck. It's $2 trillion in a world where there's about $1,000 trillion of assets. So that makes it around 0.2% of the total assets of the world. But what if it's normalized that it shouldn't be 0.2%? It should be 2%.
Yeah.
Okay. If it should be if the correct amount of Bitcoin shouldn't be 0.2% of the world savings, it should be 2% of the world savings. Okay, then we need to revalue Bitcoin up 10x. And now we're getting closer to the $1 million Bitcoin. That's and it's very easy to imagine. That wouldn't take a great fundamental revolutionary shift in the way humans operate, right? It wouldn't. We might be having this conversation in 5 years' time, and it just is that way. And the world doesn't even look that different. You don't need some massive revolution for that to happen. You just kind of need basically things like this, like the Kraken starts, Kraken, these exchanges get their Federal Reserve master accounts, and university endowments start investing in it, and they decide, we want a 5% allocation, and central banks decide, hey, we want to diversify, and hey, maybe we don't want to have all of our non-sovereign money in gold. Maybe we want to have some of it in Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. And you go and you just start to have a little bit of these things play out, and everything changes. But
Yeah.
from a day-to-day perspective, you're walking around talking to people, and it's like you wouldn't even notice it, right? You'd be having this conversation in the same way. To be fair, when you go walk down the street, like how is the world changed by the fact that gold has gone from a $6 trillion asset to a $20 trillion asset over the last 2 years? Nothing. Nothing. There's been no change to the world.
Except Costco now sells gold bars, and there's probably a slightly 10% more people in line, but that's about it.
That's about it, right?
It hasn't when it was pumping at an all-time high. So
the point is that gold has added $15 trillion to its asset at the asset value, market cap. But the structure of the world, and yes, maybe there'll be a little bit more gold mining. Maybe there'll be a few more jobs in gold, in drilling for exploration, this sort of things. And, a few structural little nibbles around the edge, but fundamentally it has no real effect on the economy. Likewise, Bitcoin can be that same thing where it's not actually like, it's so hilarious because, the earliest, it's like, I think that Bitcoin is going to accomplish the thing where it disappoints everyone, but in a funny way, which is, the haters,
everything that everybody does at the same time.
No, I just think that the haters want Bitcoin to die, and the real Bitcoin, if a Bitcoin true believers, like the OGs, the people that really, really, identify as Bitcoiners, they want it to completely revolutionize the world.
Yes.
And I think what's going to happen is it's going to disappoint everyone because it's going to be this thing where maybe it doesn't completely, it doesn't actually change the world, but the asset, it just becomes this asset that's actually a great store of savings, and it grows and it grows and it grows, and it might be, this thing might be $1 million a coin, and at the same time, the world kind of looks pretty much the way it looks today.
Yeah.
That's a very real possibility. And in fact, it's probably kind of my base case for how I think this goes. Now, if you want to talk about Bitcoin revolutionizing payments over the next 500 years, well, then maybe if you want to talk about hundreds of
AIs, I've heard, and I don't know what I think about it, but I've seen a couple clips of Jensen Huang, and he's like, look, the AIs are going to need a system of serious accountability and blah, blah, blah. Basically, all the Bitcoiners are like, oh my God, it's going to have to be Bitcoin. And I'm like, does it have to be Bitcoin? I get it. When you're in a Bitcoin space, you want it to be, and you can figure out reasons why it's going to be. But I'm like, they could just as easily, because the whole thing with Bitcoin, the reason it has value is first mover. It was innovative. It was something new. People got in, they made lots of money. If all these AIs just need is something that works, they could and probably should just make their own thing and just tie it to whatever they're working on. I just can't tell if it's going to be something that they use, like the crypto rails and the Bitcoin rails. They'll probably use some aspect of blockchain. I've been so torn on whether or not if there's going to be any kind of use case for the AI systems and agents.
I think the answer is both yes, and it's sort of meaningless in the sense of, I think that it's very likely AIs will be using crypto and probably Bitcoin, and it also, we're talking about a idea that is not investable. It's not an investable thesis. It doesn't matter from the
that
price
was my
chart.
fear. That's what I was thinking. Because I was like, I feel like you're saying that. And so therefore your conclusion is that, so therefore it'll be worth $1 billion. I'm like, I don't know if that's
it's it might be, it's an investable thesis if you are, if you're that don't die guy and you're like, hey, I'm going to live for the next 1,000 years. And so that might work.
Is a Bitcoiner. He does like Bitcoin. That's what I've heard.
Say that again, Kate. I think
Brian Johnson, the don't die guy. I believe is a Bitcoiner. I believe he does.
Yeah. It makes perfect sense if you've got such a long time horizon.
Yeah.
But if you're worried about what the markets are going to do on a human level, forget, and I'm not even talking about day to day. I'm just like, hey, let's figure out a position so that we can be well positioned for the next 3 years. Like, I think that's not an unreasonable time horizon for a human being. Like, I'm not going to talk about the next 50 years, and I'm not talking about trying to time the next week, but let's like try and get a macro picture about where this is going over the next 3 years. That kind of AI talk is often varies. Like, it's so it's just not relevant. It's interesting, by the way. It's like super interesting. Like, someone should write a good sci-fi book with that stuff in it. I would read that book. I would enjoy it. Like, I want to watch the movie. Like The Matrix. The Matrix was an amazing movie 25 years ago, and it might even be proved to be true. But if you went and watched The Matrix in 2000 and were like, "How can I invest off this thesis?" It's a stupid thing to say.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I think it's because, like, and I've come to this conclusion, like, the narratives will come and go. You'll have the same FUD stories at the bottom of the market, the same FUD stories that happen at the top of the market, and the same hopium at the top of the market, et cetera. And so, like, when Bitcoin is up and everything's winning, you're like, dude, every single thing is good for Bitcoin. You're like, fires being put out by Bitcoin. It's like, people being kidnapped, Bitcoin. You're like, dude, what? But it's everything's up. So you're like, I guess, yeah, like, everything is good for Bitcoin. And then when everything goes down, like, some great announcement will come out and nobody cares. They're like, so my bags are down. And you're like, okay, I see. This is all dictated by how we feel about the price of Bitcoin.
Or in practical terms, like the last 3 months, it's like, oh, AI is. You have a story. AI is revolutionary. Oh God, it's killing software. That's bad for Bitcoin. Or AI is actually not that good. Oh my God, Nvidia is going to crash. Oh, that's bad for Bitcoin. Like, it's suddenly, Bitcoin is both crashed on FUD on AI and on hype for AI. Both has led to Bitcoin crashing. And equally, the reverse, like, in a bull market, it's exactly the same. That's just, and this gets to, it's like, so much of this is just like momentum plays and liquidity cycles.
Yeah.
And this is where it's like, this is why you get the 4-year cycle people that have these long-term momentum thesis. And I will say, Bitcoin isn't entirely unique as much as people think it is with respect to commodities. There's a long time observation that a lot of commodities do tend to have these momentum plays that play out over really long periods of time. Like, it's kind of disgusting how long they play out. Like, you're watching these charts that just go up and up and up for years and years and years and years, and then they go down for years. I'm not saying Bitcoin does that, but at the same time, there is a tendency, commodities have an odd property, unlike, say, stocks, which can be a little bit more, well, stocks tend to be more like, hey, how's the business going? How's the earnings going? This sort of thing. But commodities do tend to have these, like, they just trend for shockingly long periods of time in a disgusting way that you're like, the trend cannot continue. Like, it's just, the trend has been going for so long, and then the trend goes for another year afterwards. They just, commodities have a trending, and that's why people can make, like, there are so many examples of traders that have just made money trading momentum on trends, on commodities, which they don't even understand. They don't even understand the commodity, and yet you just trade it like going up looks good, gonna keep going, or going down. And if you can time the secular trends, not, the challenge is figuring out whether it's like a short-term thing or whether this is a big secular change. Just like how, for example, Bitcoin is now, what's the momentum in Bitcoin? It depends on your perspective. On the one hand, hey, we're up 20% over the last, 5 weeks or something. It's like, look, it's going up. On the other hand, you look over the last 6 months and it's like, well, going down.
Yeah.
But then it's like, hey, look at over the last 10 years, it's like, hey, going up. So it's like, what, trying to find, the trick is like, what's your time horizon, and figuring, capturing that. And that's, like, by the way, not easy at all, but that's probably essentially the game.
I think you're right. Yeah, it depends on your goals. Like, if you're a profit maxi, probably just doing long swing trades, like I said, just identifying a couple ranges that you're comfortable selling At least, I mean, if you're someone who's just like, look, I have no idea if it's going to catapult to $100,000 move one day, like that's possible, but the chances of $100,000 move in one candle from Bitcoin it's just not going to happen, at least right now. And so in my head, I'm like, look, if you're a profit maxi and you've got some super long-term visions here, you're looking to take a couple trades a year kind of thing, like one or two big buys, one or two big sells, and then if it comes back down, another couple big buys. Like I feel like that's probably the way to do it if you don't want to be glued to the screens all day, panicking every time Bitcoin has a 5% drawback and then freaking out and not knowing what to do every time we have a 5% uptick. It's just exhausting. So I think for a lot of people, they could just help themselves out and zoom out a little bit, and like you're saying, and pick your spots. But honestly, that's like it for like all the top stories I've seen across the board. I'm sure I missed a couple stories. There's been so many, honestly. I've never tweeted so much in my freaking life in the last couple of days here. Just people going online, like just bickering back and forth. Like, this thing passes. Like Trump went on Truth Social and was calling out banks. We had JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon was like, it's not fair. Like the stable coins are like, it needs to be more fair to the banks. He was complaining about competition. He got clowned on it all over the internet. So there's like some small things like that. But like besides that, like it's really just been the war and a couple of those stories we ran through today. But is there anything else, Thomas, that's kind of on your mind?
I guess related to the war was everything that played out with like Claude being labeled a security threat to the US. That was extremely interesting. I have seen some analysis to suggest like it's not going to hold up in court legally. Like maybe the best they can do is get, they lose the contracts and maybe aren't being used in the Department of War, but probably not going to hold up. It's extremely interesting. Claude have been like, they're operating on a 20 billion a year run rate in terms of revenue. They made 12 last year, so they're already like their Claude AI is going bonkers in terms of the use. In fact they're almost close to overtaking OpenAI in terms of revenue.
And a lot of people got off OpenAI because of this whole thing that happened. A lot of people signed up for Claude, signed off of ChatGPT.
Yeah, and I'm not even, and this data isn't even taking account of that. And then the other thing, I guess, what was super interesting, OpenAI completed a raise. They raised like $130 billion at a $700 billion valuation. Just so mind-meltingly large amount of investment. Like we've never seen, like to put it in perspective, what we're talking about here is just like, this is like the kind of investment used to create, this is like the project to create the nuclear bomb in the 1930s or whatever, where you had the whole US, like the whole government being like, we're going to have the Manhattan Project and we're going to do like, and we're going to take all of the best scientists in the world and we're going to recruit them from everywhere. Like this is that, but for a private company. It's so mind-melting the amount of investment happening here. I don't necessarily have a proper scale in my mind for what's happening, except to say I can't help but feel there's opportunities around the power because if they're investing in it, the one thing for sure, because everybody keeps saying it, is they're supply constrained on the power. And there's political elements when it comes to using the grid, and they need to get the power somehow. And I do think that's going to be like, that does present opportunities. And that's why we've talked about in the past, some of these like power operators, these kind of former AI, sort of former Bitcoin miners that are now AI data center guys. Extremely interesting. Chanos is really bearish. Jim Chanos is really bearish on these guys, which is interesting. But then also you go, hang on, if Google, like, they got to be spending the money somehow. Like, basically, I guess the question is, you have to ask yourself, if Google are going to spend $180 billion this year, if OpenAI are raising $100 billion, like, they're not just taking that money and sitting on it. They're going to spend it.
Right.
Where are they spending it? Figure out where are they spending it. That's where the money is going. Like, that's the challenge, right? And if you can figure out where they're spending that money, you're probably in a pretty good position.
That's a really good way to put it. And one last thing I'll throw in there is the this clip. I don't know if you've seen this, but this is just CEO just kind of like a quick little clip here. Hopefully you guys can hear the audio. Let me know if you can hear.
Critics call this an abuse of power, what the Pentagon is doing and what the White House is doing. Do you believe this is an abuse of power?
You know, again, I would return to the idea that this is unprecedented.
But is it an abuse of power?
You know, this has never happened before. This designation has never happened before with an American company. And I think it was made very clear in some of their statements, in some of their language, that this was retaliatory and punitive. I don't know what else to call it. Retaliatory and punitive.
Critics call this an abuse of power.
So yeah, I don't know. That's just, I think he's sort of flabbergasted. He's like, I didn't want to do all this stuff, and now you guys are flaming me. But honestly, it was so interesting. Like you get one side, which is like the institutional, like we're gonna just bury you guys, and the other side is like all the people are like, I like that you guys didn't just bow down. Sam Altman comes and he's like, I'll do anything you guys want. I'm in. Let's do this thing. And then everyone's like, okay, yeah, we're out. And so it's interesting, dude. Like, I don't know. We're seeing like these world powers and like billionaire tech CEOs go at it. And then like, you know, I don't even know. Some of these companies are private, and, you know, you got like Peter Thiel selling $300 million of his own Palantir stock the other day. You have like billionaires all like in the mix doing their own, and you can't tell like what's a psyop, what's meant to like throw you off. And like, they're like, you know, taking the L on it temporarily so that they can get a bigger win. Like, you don't know what's going on yet. Like, we don't know all the pieces. We're basically the dog just looking at the apple and going, oh, like that is us right now. So I don't know what to make of it, dude. I just figure we'll come on each week. We'll do our best to pick apart what's going on and just talk about it. But otherwise, I don't know what else to do. You know, pick the assets you like, DCA into them, vibe. Try not to lose your head every time the price moves up and down, and that's all there is to it, I guess.
Yeah, no, I like that summary. That's very interesting. I mean, Dario is in such a bind. You don't want to be. Don't want to be where he is. I feel that. On the other hand, his company is absolutely crushing it. He might be on the way to being, you know, like one of the most powerful people in the world. So it's a fascinating dynamic.
It's the only time where I've really thought, like, you know what, we're probably going to have these technocratic societies, just billionaires being like, just screw it.
Oh yeah.
I have too much money for you to come in here and tell me what to do. Like, we are good. Like, we are so good. We're going to make our own little world over here.
And we already do, to some extent, in the sense of Elon Musk is like above, you know, like the government will, the government could tell Elon to do something, and Elon will be like, let me think about whether I'm going to do that or not.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I don't know, man. I'm trying to figure out if it's going to be an entirely unrecognizable world in a few years. I guess it will be, but we'll sort of just, it'll be normal to us. We'll kind of just take it in stride. I mean, I don't know. Like, I guess like 10 years, you see these videos of like 10 years ago, like high school kids, like without the phones and stuff. And it looks like a different reality, but like, I don't know. I guess we didn't notice it because it was just kind of happening at the same time to us. So like, I imagine like in 10, 15, 20 more years, there'll be a bunch of things that are normal. I'm hoping it doesn't look like The Giver or like one of these super dystopian movies where we just look at it and we're like, dude, we cooked ourselves. But I guess this is normal, you know? So I don't know. Like for me, I'm just like, you know what? You just gotta lock in as many wins as you can right now while there's opportunities still. You never know which jobs AI is going to take. I mean, my dad will call me like every now and then, and he works in Silicon Valley. He's in the tech world over there. He just moved out there a few years ago. He was teaching before that. And dude, he's bounced around like three different jobs now. He's at like the height of his career, in one of the best positions he could be in. And he's still constantly like month to month, just like, all right, hopefully like something weird doesn't happen with my job. And I'm just like, dude, that's crazy. You're top of the line, best in your field in Silicon Valley, super high paying job. And you're literally always nervous that you're going to get cut. And like he survives like all of them, but he's bounced around a couple of jobs. He went from like working in the same job for 30 years and then like joins a tech company. I'm like, okay, I guess he's going to be there for the next 30 years. Like a year later, he's on to the next. And I was like, holy crap. Like the things are moving a little bit. So I don't know, man. You just got to take as many wins as you can, I guess, right now while you got it. If you got the attention now, if your social media is killing it, like grab that with both hands and just try to make the most of it, you know?
For sure, man. Yeah, well, look, this was good. I always loving these chats, and also just see you again next week.
Yeah, absolutely. And for everyone back at home, I hope you enjoyed the stream. If you did, definitely be sure to leave a like, leave a repost, and follow Thomas right above our faces. If you're on YouTube, right in the description below, you can find him tagged. Definitely follow along here at Wolf Bitcoin if you enjoy this type of content. We do spaces and streams every single day. We're putting out content like every 30 minutes. There's a post going out, so we're trying to keep you guys up to date with what's going on in the world out there. We love doing these shows. We'll see you guys all in the next one. Hope you all have an amazing rest of your day. Big shout out to Rest Shares as well for sponsoring the show. More information in the tweet below.